The Lighthouse of the Damned. The lighthouse had been dark for 20 years. Its beam extinguished the night Mara's father vanished at sea. It still stood on Black Rock Point, a crooked finger of stone jutting into the Atlantic, waves gnawing at its base like teeth. Locals said the light didn't go out. It was turned inward. Mara returned on a night thick with fog, the kind that swallowed sound. She carried her father's old logbook, its leather warped with salt, its pages stitched with cramped, frantic notes. The light calls them, he had written near the end. Once it sees you, it remembers. She forced the rusted door open and climbed. Each step echoed too long, as if the tower were hollow beyond its walls. Halfway up, she smelled brine and rot, the reek of old nets and something sweeter beneath. The stairs were damp, slick with a sheen that pulsed faintly, like the breath of a sleeping animal. At the lantern room, the glass was clouded black. The lens, once a marvel of cut crystal, had grown veined and opaque, as if something had crawled inside it and died. Mara set the logbook down and wiped the grime away with her sleeve. The light came on, not bright, not white. It bloomed like a bruise, a deep, sickly green that seeped through the glass and into the fog outside. Shapes answered it immediately. Figures rose from the surf, water sliding from them in ribbons. Men in oilskins, women with hair knotted by kelp, faces pale and split by smiles too wide to be human. Their eyes reflected the light, thousands of small moons. Mara stumbled back, the room filled with whispers, names, coordinates, prayers interrupted mid-breath. The logbook fluttered open, pages turning themselves. New ink bled into the paper, writing itself in her father's hand. It needs a keeper. A hand closed around her ankle, then another. Cold fingers climbed, leaving frost in their wake. The dead did not pull her down. They lifted her, reverent, expectant. "I won't," she gasped, clawing for the railing. The lens cracked with a wet sound. Inside, something shifted. The light brightened, hungry. Images flooded her mind, ships veering off course, captains mesmerized. The beam guided them onto rocks with patient precision. Each wreck fed the tower. Each soul made the light stronger. Her father stepped from the glow. He was wrong. Skin translucent, veins glowing green, eyes empty lanterns.
I tried to leave it dark, but it wakes. It always wakes.
He said, voice echoing like waves in a cavern. Mara screamed and shoved the logbook into the lens. The pages ignited, words screaming as they burned. The light shrieked, a sound like glass dragged across bone, and collapsed inward. Outside, the figures faltered, dissolving into foam. The tower shuddered. The beam died. Mara fled before dawn. By morning, Black Rock Point was just rock again. But far out at sea, sailors swear they see a faint green pulse on fog-bound nights. blinking once, as if remembering. The hovering place. The lighthouse had no name on the charts anymore. Sailors called it the hovering place. By day it looked abandoned, white paint peeled to bone, lantern glass fogged with salt, the tower leaning just enough to make your eyes ache. The sea around it was always restless, waves folding over themselves as if something below refused to let them lie flat. At night, the spirits came. They rose from the water like breath from a dying mouth, pale shapes drifting upward, just above the waves, not fully human, not fully smoke. Faces flickered in them for seconds at a time. A woman screaming without sound, a boy reaching with hands that dissolved at the wrists, a bearded man whose eyes were empty sockets, filled with light. They hovered in a slow orbit around the lighthouse, drawn to it, trapped by it. Jonas saw them on his third night as keeper. The foghorn had died hours earlier. The sea slammed against the rocks hard enough to shake the tower, and Jonah climbed the spiral steps with a lantern, muttering prayers he didn't believe in. When he reached the lantern room, he saw the glow outside, not the beam, but dozens of wavering lights floating in the dark. They moved like moths. As the lighthouse lamp flared to life, the spirits turned toward it in unison. The glass began to frost from the inside. Jonah staggered back as shadows pressed against the panes. The spirits weren't screaming. They were listening. Their hollow mouths stretched wider as the light swept across the sea, and Jonah understood with sick clarity. The lighthouse wasn't guiding ships away from danger. It was calling them in. A voice slipped into his head, wet and heavy, layered with many throats. Keep the light burning. Images flooded him. Ships dashed apart, sailors dragged under, lungs filling with black water. Each death fed the hovering swarm. Each soul rose, bound to the tower, forced to circle it forever, just out of reach of the waves that killed them. Jonah ran down the stairs, intending to flee, but the door at the base of the lighthouse wouldn't open. Salt water seeped through the cracks, rising fast, icy and alive. The spirits drifted down the stairwell toward him, brushing the walls, whispering his name, though he'd never told it to anyone.
You tend the light now, or you'll join us.
They murmured. The beam above flickered. Outside, a ship's horn sounded, close, desperate. Jonah screamed and raced back up the stairs, hands bleeding, heart tearing itself apart. He reached the lantern room and threw the switch just as the ship emerged from the fog, rocks waiting beneath it like teeth. The light locked on. The spirits swelled with joy, rising higher, brighter. Jonah felt the tower lean a little more, as if making room for him. By morning, the sea was calm again. The lighthouse stood silent, but sailors swore that at night one new spirit hovered among the rest, solid, screaming, forever circling the light he could never turn off. The Lighthouse by Conformist with Cause. Sarah rubs her eyes, yawning as she tries to remember how long she has left on her shift. At least it's a quiet night so far. I'll just do a quick check and get some coffee, she thought to herself, heading towards Mr. James's room. Working on the sixth-floor wing meant that Sarah got to work alone, and even her patients were quiet. Walking down the half-lit hallway, she notices an open door, and while going to close it, sees an unfamiliar young girl sitting up in her bed. "I'm sorry, sir, but visiting hours have been over for about an hour now," the nurse explained, after noticing a gentleman sitting next to the girl's bed. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I just wanted to tell my little girl a story before I left. Do you know about the fake lighthouses?" He doesn't even turn to address the nurse, just keeps looking forward. Sarah cautiously enters the room, keeping an eye on the man. "Sir, please, you'll have—" Before she can finish her sentence, she was cut off. "Just one quick story, more of a fact, really, and I will be gone." The shadowy man was forceful, yet gentle about it. Sarah stood there silently. Small coastal towns would raid and loot whatever ships wrecked on shore. Legends say they would set up these fake lighthouses. You could hear a pin drop in this room when the mystery man wasn't talking. The idea being you draw the ships into the shore and wreck them on purpose. They'd wait on the beach, kill any survivors so they could pick through the wreckage. That isn't exactly how it works, though. The light showed them where not to go. Our ancestors did something different. They put the lights out. He chuckles, almost if he is reminiscing. Sarah eyes the emergency button on the other side of the bed, slowly walking closer to them. "We also did things a little differently. We didn't kill the survivors. We trapped them. Live meat lasts better during the summer." "Sir, I really think you should get going now." Sarah manages to get out of her lips while trembling. The little girl finally opens her mouth. "Can you see the scary man too? 'Cause none of the other nurses can. He's just been waiting here all day." "Waiting for what?" Sarah notices the little girl wasn't connected to any of the monitoring equipment, and it was all turned off. The lights go dark, and the door slams shut as the girl growls,
For a ship to wash up on shore.